Hello, hello, everyone. Just getting a couple things set up. There's a hair somewhere on the end of my nose, and I know it's a kitten hair, and I can't find it. It's driving me bananas. That is the actual real story of my life, not anything else. Just hairs. I'm trying to find where they are. One of the things that happens when you have a little veritable zoo. Okay. I see we have one person on. Woohoo. Gonna give everybody a few minutes to tune in, because really, who tunes in right on the exact minute? Oh, the one person left. Well, that's kind of sad. Sorry, you get to see me like find kitten hairs as I remove them from my person. Okay, I think I just made it worse. Man, boy, I tell you, if anybody's tuned in right now, or somebody's watching the replay, you get the entertainment of your life with me. Got it. Y'all ever like put yourself on live and you find things like this because you can see it in the reflection and you're like, well, that's gonna bug me the whole freaking video. And I apologize because you will inevitably hear my dogs bark. The door is closed, but that's just who they are as individuals. Um, three of them, well, two of them in particular, will bark at so much as a mouse fart. So that's also my life. What else can I tell you? That's my life while we wait for people to hopefully tune in. And if not, I'm still going to deliver a dope ass live like it's in front of thousands of people. You're welcome. Um, my husband and I have been dipping back into the archives to watch different movie series. Some has been back in the archives, right? Like we watch the Harry Potter series probably at least twice a year. Sometimes it's just twice a year. And in case you're wondering, odd that I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you. It's not odd, it's my life. Sorry, brain way faster than mouth, as per usual. My shirt, I am a nervous Rex. It fulfills my love for both animals and puns and Disney movies. Um, yeah, so we've been watching series because really it's because I'm difficult. That's really what this all boils down to. I personally think God has a very, very entertaining sense of humor and a very ironic sense of humor because I am slowly but surely becoming different versions of the people that I used to go, oh, whatever, and roll my eyes at. Um, I now get up at 5 a.m. I have gone to the dark side, not because I enjoy it, but because if I'm going to get all the things accomplished that I want to in the day, but also do the things I need to do, for myself, because self care and growing and learning and all that stuff is bookkeeping important. Um, I gotta get up. So I get up at 5 a.m. And I still hate myself a little bit for that. I also, this year, like, I just don't want to watch a lot of TV. This bitch. I'm proud of it. I think it's just because, and it really happened once I started becoming an entrepreneur, right? Um, there's just not a lot that really fully captures my attention anymore. And if it doesn't, I just get so restless. And I'm like, there are so many things I could be doing right now. So But I also recognize that what I don't need to do is shut down for the day and then take my laptop into the living room and work for another 4 hours. Defeats the purpose of shutting down. And I certainly, if I get up at 5 a.m., even if I'm doing some self care stuff, I, I really, really, really don't need to work 14 to 16 hours a day, every day, forever. It's not good. So we've been dipping back into archives. We watched, um, well, we've gone back through the Underworld series. He had never seen the Resident Evil series, yet I married him. So we recently finished that. Um, we just did the Lord of the Rings series like probably in the last 3 months. So now, where I was going with all this initially, he got me my own Jurassic Park mask because I was just using like one of the disposable ones, but I'd been using it for long enough. It was getting kind of icky. So he got me a Jurassic Park one. That's a series we're going through now. I'd say we've been through 1, 2, and 3, but we kind of skipped 2 because we started watching it, and I remember why I've only seen it once. It makes me very uncomfortable. I don't like it. It upsets me. And it upset me enough. He was like, "We're not watching this. It's not worth it." He's so great. Okay, well, I'm going to give it another exactly 3 minutes. So, for my one lovely that's here, if you need to potty or get some water or wine or tequila or whatever, the luck boat, sure boat, go get it because in less than 3 minutes, we gonna get rolling. Oh, there's 2 people. What up? Less than 3 minutes, we're gonna get rolling with this. I got some good stuff for us today. Um, if you are tuning in, or if you're watching a replay, I would love for you to comment #replay. Please feel free to drop any and all questions in the comments, even if you're watching on a replay, because obviously I'll still get tagged and notified in the notifications, and I want to make sure I'm answering questions for you guys. 2 minutes, and we're gonna roll. So yeah, we're watching Jurassic Park. We'll probably go through the Hunger Games series at some point again. And there's the Divergent series. And we've seen all these. I finally got him to watch Grease 2. That was exciting. I feel like I should play the Jeopardy theme in the background. I won't. But I kind of feel like I would love to know who's here. You want to drop a name in the comments for me? So please. So instead of just saying that person who's here, I could address you by either your government name or your chosen nickname. Or not. Or maybe you're doing what I said. Maybe you're taking a potty break or getting your drink of choice. All right, I know I said 2 minutes, but I'm about done waiting. I don't patience very well. Working on it. While I'm waiting, if people are on LinkedIn, first of all, if you're not and you are a business owner, get right with your life. Second of all, when you connect with someone, hey, thanks, Kaylee. Please stop trying to take people home to sleep with them the second you meet them. You don't. Well, most normal human beings do not walk up to someone in the bar and go, "Hey, you want to go back to my place?" And you don't do that. Stop doing it on LinkedIn. Stop connecting with someone and immediately sending them a message in under 24 hours, asking them for a referral or asking them to buy your services. I have started responding. My responses have been mostly clever, but they're about to get a little more bad. Okay, I'm going to get started. So, all right. I did make a post last week about this whole zone of genius and zone of excellence, but I really just wanted to dive more into that because I know there's just so much more to explore there. And so there is an author, Gay Hendricks. He's actually a psychologist, wrote a lot of books, but the most famous one is Big Leap. And he actually talks about four zones, but we really only talk about, or we only really hear about the zone of excellence and the zone of genius. Um, and thank you for saying that, Kaylee. I really appreciate that. It is not easy, my friend, but I will tell you that waking up early, it's made a massive difference. It really has. And it also makes going to bed early a whole lot easier. Um, but yeah, so the zones, it was with your zones, right? Um, let's go ahead and kind of get this out of the way. I think we've all heard in some capacity that um, work shouldn't feel like work. And I think that the more we've heard that and the older that we get, we sort of dismiss that. And when we hear that work shouldn't feel like work and that, the time should fly by, we're just like, okay, whatever, but that's not real life. Maybe it's not for you right now, but the reality is that it should be, and it can't be. And that actually is truth. Somebody said that somewhere because that's what they were experiencing. And um, I can tell you completely truthfully, and if you've followed me for more than 5 seconds, you know that I'm about as authentic and transparent as it gets. I don't say shit I don't believe. Um, and I don't sell anything I wouldn't buy. My work right now never feels like work. Yes, let's be honest, right? Running and owning a business, there are inevitably tasks you don't really love to do, but that's not the same as work feeling like work. It's this idea that when you're doing the work you are meant to do, not the task, the work. So I'm going to use Kaylee because she's here. Kaylee's a photographer. I guarantee you, when Kaylee is out on shoots, and Kaylee, either agree or correct me if I'm wrong, I promise you, when Kaylee is out on shoots, it does not feel like work to her. And I promise you that if Kaylee is out on a shoot for 2 hours, those 2 hours go by like that because that's not what it feels like to her. She loves what she does. And she's still in this cloud of euphoria slash amazement that this is like her full time gig now. She recently got to make the transition from being a full time teacher and doing photography on the side to now doing photography full time. And she still, I think, wakes up every day going, is this my real life or is this a joke? Right. So, um, you know, that is reality. That is a real thing that actually 100% can happen for you. And that happens for me all the time. Most days, I kind of get bummed out when I know it's time to stop working. And yes, sometimes it's because I just know I still have a lot on my to-do list and I love checking things off and I don't like moving something to the next day. But mostly it's because I just get really excited about what I'm doing, even when it's like systems and processes shit, right? I just get excited about it and I like creating and I like what I'm doing. And it's this idea that the time does fly by and I'm inspired and I'm energized. And even when I shut it down, I'm excited to dive back in for tomorrow. And that's really what that should feel like. Am I tired? Yeah, because I'm a business owner. Like, of course I'm tired. But the excitement and the momentum, they trump tired every single time. And not again, that's the way it should be. So back to the zones. So there's four zones for at least in Hendrix's book. Um, and I'm going to mention them for the sake of mentioning because I'm always about educating. But it, I'm really going over these first two because I want to make sure that you're not in these zones and that if you are in them, you get the hell out of there as quickly as you possibly can. So the first one is the zone of incompetence. It's just what it sounds like, people. You suck at that thing, and there are a ton of people that can do it a whole lot better, right? Second one is the zone of competence. So that's basically, okay, you can do the thing. Yeah, but there are still a decent amount of people that can do it better. Your third one is the zone of excellence. And this is something that you're really, really good at. There might be a few people that can do it better, but those are few and far between. Um, you're an expert at what you do. And then there's your zone of genius. And this is where you're just a rock star. You are the one. And no one is able to do what you do the exact way that you do it. And because of that, what you do cannot be replicated. So, like, no pressure, right? And I'm going to, before I did any kind of research, I was going to posit this anyway, but I was going to posit that when we reach the stage of finding something that no one else can do the way that we do it, and no, when we're talking about something that is really innate within us and that we love to do, or that we're that good at. I kind of jumped ahead of myself there, kind of like spoiler alert, did you? Um, I don't think we get to that point if it's not something that we really love to do. I think there are a million things that we can be experts in and that we can be proficient in. But there's such a difference in being proficient and being an expert and just doing it like no one else can. And if you think of that, think of anything where people can be technicians. And one of the first things that pops into my mind are people that play instruments. Um, there's always that je ne sais quoi, that something you can't name. There can be two piano players, for example, that can play the same piece of music with the same skill level, the same technical abilities, and the same level of proficiency. But if one's got the heart and the other doesn't, you hear it. You hear it in the music. Um, and so at that point, and by the way, like I mean, there are definitely other individuals that agree with that, right? Um, and there are others that state that the zone of genius is actually where your zone of genius is the point where the genius and the passion merge together. And so if we think about that, then those first three zones only talk about your skill level. And the zone of genius is the only one where we actually talk about the passion merging with the skill level. Um, and when we look at the definitions, it's real easy to see how they're completely different. But I still think it's also really easy to see how we can confuse or mistake a zone of excellence for a zone of genius, because if we're doing something that we're like kicking butt and taking names in, and we do like what we're doing, and we are providing for ourselves and we're supporting our family, and whatever it is that we're doing, we believe that's what success looks like, and that's what we're supposed to do, then that can feel like, okay, well, then this is my zone of genius. And I get that. And I'm not here to upheave your whole life and tell you that you're wrong. I am here to hopefully just make you think, because I think one of the best and biggest ways that we grow as humans is to constantly challenge our beliefs. And that's not as scary as it sounds. Um, questioning what you believe is actually the quickest way to deepen and strengthen your beliefs. And so, you know, here's some, here's kind of some food for thought, right? Your zone of genius is also this idea of you, or this, not even an idea, but it's you tapping into natural, just God-given talents and abilities. It's something, it's not something that it can, something that can be absolutely like honed and increased and practiced and leveled up, so to speak. But it's something that you were born to do, and you probably started doing in utero to begin with. So to a certain extent, it's not something you had to be taught how to do. Um, you never are lacking in inspiration in that area. Um, and actually, chances are getting out of inspiration is probably more like a, we need the jaws of life up in here to pull this person out of this, because we can't get them to stop, right? Um, And you are producing work that is not only of the highest of quality, but again, it's also uniquely you. No one can quite recreate what it is that you do, and they're not sure why. They can duplicate the exact same strategies and methods and processes, but it's still not going to be yours, and it's still not going to be quite the same. Um, and I'll use myself as a real life example. And this is something that I only recently discovered when I made my transition into full coaching rather than, because as a brand strategist, you're a coach anyway, whether you realize it or want to be or not. And I was in public education for 13 years. I've been teaching for over 20. So teaching, coaching, mentoring, that's been in my wheelhouse for a really, really, really long time. And that's definitely probably my biggest zone of genius. And obviously I love it. But what I just recently realized when I started to make the transition and kind of keep that design piece as something really selective, like I still do take on one-on-one design clients, but I'm just really selective in that process, is I didn't realize until recently that the design piece of that, not the strategy piece, but the design piece is a zone of excellence for me. It's not a zone of genius. And the fun part was figuring out that the reason the design piece is a zone of excellence is because the strategy is a zone of genius. So if that strategy piece weren't a zone of genius, I don't think I would be any good at design at all. And the reason I say that is because it's the strategy that informs the design. So it's to kind of back that up. The reason that I don't take on clients that don't want to do the strategy is because just as a designer, as like a standalone designer without the strategy, I'm really shitty. Like if there's not a strategy, like I can't, I just gotta sit there. I'm like, I don't I don't know what to do. I need the strategy. And that's what I need to inform my creativity and my design. Um, And I know that's a big part of why, because ultimately what made this final decision for me to finally just own it and give myself permission to make this actual transition and this pivot was my coach finally just asking me one day, because I was really struggling with booking new design clients. And she was like, "Do you even want to design anymore?" And I was like, "Not really." Like there are always going to be people that I want to work with, right? There are people in this group that I will forever design for, and there are new people that I've met that I would absolutely design for in a heartbeat. But that's about the person. Um, but as far as having to go out and get new clients as my main source of income, and that be my main source of what I do every day, hell no, I don't want to do that anymore because it's not my zone of genius. And when something's not your zone of genius, even if you're really good at it, it doesn't flow the same way. We have to work a lot harder in our zones of excellence to stay at that optimal performance. Because here's the thing, right? As a zone of excellence designer, I'm competing with zone of genius designers. Do y'all have any idea how hard that is? To try to be successful and make the money you want to make as a zone of excellence person competing against zone of genius people. Like that's just setting yourself up for not failure because you can absolutely do it, but that's just setting yourself up for a really hard fight. And I realized that it wasn't a fight that I wanted. I didn't want to fight that fight. I was out. I tap out. So anyway, um, I think the biggest thing is, and my biggest kind of encouragement piece for you here, to really just seek out. And before I even say that, let me give you a piece of encouragement. If you're listening to this, watching it, whatever, and you're like, fuck, I'm not in my zone of genius. At no point does that mean you have to go and quit whatever you're doing tomorrow and start all over. No one's telling you that. So you can take a deep breath there. It may just be time for you to start exploring, and exploring is always fun. Like, give yourself permission to start taking a little bit of a journey. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's still true. Think about all those things that bring you true and legitimate joy. What do you not only love to do, but you're really fucking good at? Because I promise you, those passions that you have and those zones of genius that you have, those things that you're good at and you could do in your sleep, those things were given to you for a reason. And it wasn't just to give you fleeting moments of happiness, right? Then that's when you start to go, okay, cool. And I don't care how absurd you think it is. I promise you there's a need for it. I promise, right? So just start thinking about what those things are. And the really cool part about finally discovering your zone of genius and finding a way that you can bring that to life and monetize that. And I'm going to say this too, there is nothing wrong with monetizing your zone of genius. There is nothing wrong with monetizing a passion. Nothing. You don't have to have something you're passionate about and create something of value and serve others for free always, all the time. That's one of the dumbest lies we've ever allowed ourselves to believe. That because we're passionate about it and we want to serve people, we can only do that by giving it away. That's so I'm furious with myself for letting myself believe that for so long. That's just stupid. Anyway, when you get in your zone of genius and you figure out how to make that a business, here's what really happens. That is a win-win-win situation. First win, your clients are going to get the absolute best from you. And your clients, the ones that you serve, no one can serve them like you can. So not only are they getting the best from you, but they're getting the best possible for them. So they are going to be insanely happy. You are freaking loving the work that you're doing. So it doesn't seem like work for you. You'll probably often question if it's real life. Just ask Kaylee. And that's going to make you insanely happy because you're also making money. And then you're changing the mother effing world, which makes an entire planet insanely happy. Win, win, win. Right? So then the question is, what's your zone of genius? I am going to get to Katie's question, but the thing is, too, the last thing I'll say is, if you have no idea, where to even start, or you just need someone to talk it through, guys, I talk about this all the freaking time. I'm gonna talk about it again. I have free 30-minute coaching calls. What are you doing with your life? Yeah, they're free. And y'all know I'm not a pushy person. If you are literally sitting there going, I want to do a free 30-minute, I don't ever want to buy a damn thing from you. I mean, you do you, boo-boo. If I can help you, and if you legit don't ever want to talk to me again, live your life. I'm not going to hunt you down. I'm not going to come after you because, in all truth and honesty, one, I genuinely do want to help and serve people. And two, if I got to hunt you down and convince you to work with me, girl or boy, you are not my people. No. So you don't have to worry about that. Ain't nobody got time for that, least of all me. So if you want to take advantage of the free 30-minute call and then ghost, boo. Literally. Do you? Bye, ghost. But I've got free 30-minute coaching calls. And I have those for a reason. And I don't pre-qualify them for a reason. So if you could use some help, or again, just someone to talk through it with, that's literally what I'm here for. That's literally what those free calls are for. And I will post a link to those in the chat so you can book those. So Kaylee said, question, if other people see that you're in your zone of genius, but your self-doubt makes you categorize yourself in the zone of excellence, how do you pull yourself out of that? Yeah, so that's a great question. And that's mindset work, boo. So what that, okay, actually, I was doing something, I was doing some of my like self-development work earlier this morning. And when I say earlier, I mean 6 a.m. And one of the things I came across in my devotional work, that I'm going to eventually turn into a post for this exact reason, because it's just so freaking true. Um, talk about this in a lot of different ways, but I I wish that I had a more powerful way to say that your mindset matters and mindset work matters, because that just doesn't even begin to communicate the sense of urgency and importance and the legitimacy behind that. And the reason that I say the legitimacy is because it's not just spiritual people that talk about it. It's not just religious people that talk about it. It's also science. It's psychologist, psychiatrist, um, it's neurologist, it is, yes, it's religious practitioners, it is all different religions, it is yogis, it is other spiritual, I mean, like it's literally, it goes across the board. And it's just been proven over and over again. So if you're still thinking that mindset doesn't matter, I say this with love in my heart, but you need to get current and get caught up, because you are not only missing out, but you are almost ensuring not failure, but you are ensuring that you will never reach your full potential unless you're ready to do some mindset work. And so the biggest piece to that in the very beginning that we all have to tackle and understand is that our thoughts matter. What we tell ourselves matter. Thoughts become things. Um, I made a post not too long ago. One of my Fight Me Fridays was, "You have exactly the life that you want," and that makes a lot of people mad. And Kaylee, I am getting to your answer, I promise. But just to give other people some context to kind of help lead them to where the answer is going. Um, people that say, "Well, I want to be rich." Okay, motherfucker, then why aren't you? Why aren't you? Apparently, I need wine. Why aren't you? Because there are a million asshats and morons that are getting rich left and right. It's that you're not willing to do what it takes. If people say, "Well, I want to be the most beautiful person in the world and I can't control my genetics or my DNA," then I would challenge that it's actually not, that's not what you want. What you think is that if you're the most beautiful person in the world, it will get you what you want, whether that's attention or confidence, and that's a whole nother thing altogether. And the bottom line is that if we really want what we say we want, we'll go get it. And again, I'm use Kaylee as another example. Kaylee lifts like a beast, and she don't look like a beast. Let's cover that real quick. She's gorgeous, but she's a power lifter, and that has been a goal that she set for herself, not in the too distant past. She has a new, like, very specific goal for a competition that she wants to do on a very specific date in the not too distant future. And she does, she does, like, she posts her workouts as a measure of accountability, but also just to celebrate herself. And, you know, she knows what she wants, and she came to stay with us for a few days. She knew exactly what she needed macro wise. Like, she knows what she wants, and she's doing exactly what she has to do to get there. So, Kaylee, to answer your question directly, here's my first thing. My first thing is, when it comes to, I think the first thing is, why are you categorizing yourself out of that, right? Um, I think there's a bunch of different things and exercises to do. One of the things that my coach has given me that I really am looking forward to starting is this idea of taking a daily fear inventory. And the idea is that writing down things that I'm afraid of. The idea of writing them down is because it's like it's a reverse of a Harry Potter quote, like, fear of a name only increases fear of the thing itself. By writing it down and by naming it, it automatically starts to distill that fear. And then you can crumple it up and throw it away. You can light it on fire safely. You can rip it up. Um, you can ask whether it's God or your higher power, whatever that is, to help you release that. But it's just this idea of, maybe it's writing down something that you want and then the fears that surround that. But it's this idea of writing that down, and, maybe for you, Kaylee, that's sharing that with Eli too. I found a lot of power in that. Um, but it's not being afraid to name them and write them down, because, like I said, even just starting to name them helps them to start to shrink back and get smaller. Um, the thing I was going to share with you from the book that I'm reading right now is it says what you believe absolutely determines how you will act. So I think examining what you believe about yourself is another good place to really start. Don't be afraid, be super honest. Um, because the things that I wrote down, like, okay, how I act is determined by what I believe I deserve, what I believe I can accomplish, what I believe I know, what I believe I'm good at, what I believe I'm worthy of, what I believe in regards to whether or not I'm enough, what I believe is possible, what I believe to be true, what I believe to be unchangeable, all those things. And I have to work through what I believe to first work through what might need to be changed. Um, I also am a big fan of affirmations. They work a little bit differently for every person, whether it is you have a set that you say every day, you have one that you say every day, you just let yourself be led every day as you write. Maybe you need to say them to yourself in the mirror. A lot of people find a lot of power in that because you're affirming them over and to yourself. Um, This book recommendation will not be for everybody. I want to, full disclosure, this is a Christian based book. I am a Christian. Um, However, this had an incredibly empowering and powerful effect on my life, and I just finished it not too long ago. It's called Ferocious Warrior, and it's by Cora Jakes Coleman. It's T.D. Jakes' daughter, who is a very well known, very prominent um, pastor here in Texas in the South. He's over at the Potter's house, a little bit south of Dallas. The Ferocious Warrior is a great one. Another great one, which is kind of on topic, kind of not, but I always recommend is You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. I actually didn't read her first book. I only read that one. Um, and I haven't read any others. I've been told by a few people that have read all of her books that the Badass at Making Money is their favorite. But that's a great one if you know you need some mindset work around money or your money story. If you've never heard of the word money story, that's definitely something you do need to get in touch with, even if you think you don't. Actually, if you think you don't, you need to more than anybody else. Um, but that is a phenomenal one. Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop is kind of life changing. Hey Dodson. Um, and bonus, if you like audiobooks, and even if you don't, but you're willing to give them a try, the audio version is narrated by Gary John Bishop, and old boy is Scottish, but not like like Scottish to the point you can't understand him. Because I don't know if any of you people have ever heard like straight up Scottish people, but you can't understand those people. Like that's legit a different language. You can understand this guy, and it's just brilliant to hear him talk and to hear his inflections. Yeah, so actually I'm gonna write these down for anybody that maybe was like, wait, what? Um, so there's they actually do bleep out the U, I think, for the book title, because I don't think you can put Unfuck Yourself on a book title. Um, so there's Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop. You're a badass at making money by Jen Sincero. Ferocious Warrior by Cora Jakes Coleman. And I'm going to put in here that that is a Christian-based book for any who might prefer to know that ahead of time. I'm also going to throw up a link to this is something that really motivated me. It's a TED Talk. But I don't even remember when I came across this, y'all. is a long time ago, but it's by and I've quoted this young man many, many times. His name is Casey Gerald, and I've got his book, but I am sad to say I have not read it yet. But it's the TED Talk is Embrace Your Raw Strange Magic. And so that's a pretty amazing one to give a listen to. Um, yeah, I mean, I could keep giving y'all just books on books on books because I'm kind of a book whore. But I think those are some really good ones to start with. Those are ones, particularly because the Ferocious Warrior I just finished, but the Unfuck Yourself and You're a Badass at Making Money. I'm looking at my list. Those were books that I started super early in my entrepreneurial journey. And so that's particularly why I feel like those stand out to me the most. Oh, anything by Brene Brown is a great freaking read, but especially for anyone who's really struggling with that whole enoughness and that worthiness. The Gifts of Imperfection is just, you're gonna cry, especially if you're a female. You can cry, but they're good tears. They're releasing and healing tears. I'm sorry, I know there's like a lot of silence on your side as I search on my side, but it is what it is. Yeah, I would say start there because I think, yeah, start there. Because I just think that each one of those is just tremendous in its own right. And then the last thing I'm going to throw up, unless there are any other questions, this is the link to book a free 30-minute coaching session with me if you would like to. I am going to give it just a couple more minutes because there is actually a lag between, I'm like 30 seconds ahead. And so I'm going to shut the fuck up and see if there are any more questions. And if not, I'm going to sign off. Okay, while I'm waiting for more questions, because it's just awkward for me to sit here and not say anything. Like that's just fucking weird. I did just change the group name. It's gonna change again. I wanted to change it because it just wasn't applicable and that bothers me as a brand strategist. But then I got really, really, really good. And I'm really excited for y'all to see it. So it's gonna change again. I'm not being flighty. I am allowed to change my mind. So it's going to be really great. And I'm excited for y'all to see that. And excited for y'all to see all the brilliant things that I have coming up for y'all. Okay. Thank you for those of you that tuned in. If you're watching live, you're awesome. And if you're watching the replay, you are awesome as well. If you think of questions and you want to pop them back in here, please by all means do, and I will reply and answer to the best of my ability. Make sure that you tune in next week. I am talking slow as I was trying to pull up the schedule for next week because I don't remember because I've slept since then. Oh yeah, next week is the Not About You part 2. So if you've been with me for any length of time, you already know how I feel about the Not About You thing, but it's definitely worth bringing up again because I feel like the second I kind of stepped off that soapbox, it was like the world went, get back up, get back up. And so Nicole, I just saw your question. So I did see your question. I did answer part of that actually in the comment itself. Because I wanted to make sure that this live addressed as much of the current topic as possible. So if that question, if my answer did not address your question and you have other questions or whatever else, there's a link a little bit further up. I am offering free 30-minute coaching sessions. And so if that's something that you're interested in doing and you want to ask any more additional questions or you want to shoot me a private message, please feel free to do so. But yes, I did reply to your response. with as succinct of an answer and hopefully not confusing and simple as I could. So thank you guys again for joining, and I will see you next week, same time, same place. Later.